Yeah, that's cool. That's the road. What? I just kept there. That was fine. Oh, wrong one. Wrong one. You got any extra ones to roll?
We're done tonight, you'll get some. Oh, you want one to look at for now? Your Al's over there in the corner.
Thank you. I was using it kind of just all the time. It's like 10 minutes. Let's cancel it. Oh, hold on. You tell me every book meeting. Okay. That's how we couldn't find a parking place out front.
Everybody ready to start? Yep. Okay. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Preble Town Board meeting of June 13th, 2016. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes of May 9th?
Move they be accepted.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Carried. Jane?
The dog report, she traveled 80 miles for the town. Justice report, 14 for May.
Highway report, Jeff?
You've got a copy of the report. Just a couple things I want to 90.4 tons of trash, 3 loads of electronics, 3 dumpsters of scrap, and 9 tires, which was what we found on the roads. Nothing that was collected. The other thing I thought is notable is Beck Equipment donated the use of a all-terrain lift so we could plank the flagpoles in town the week before Memorial Day. So they donated that to us. I want to make mention of that.
Okay. Okay. Recreation and Henderson, Renee, do you have something for recreation?
Well, I've got a couple of things.
Okay.
On the recreation side, some questions regarding the supports for the overhead doors. Still haven't been completed.
Mm-hmm.
Light bulbs are needed for the building. There's a fridge in there that's been told that it needs to be looked at. It's not working or working. We're wondering if the Freon needs to be put into that, and maybe have Mr. Williams come look at it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also still the pump plug in it needs to possibly be looked at.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to the upkeeping of the ground, there's a lot of high grass, weeds, and thistles near the swing set and dugout areas. A little concerned with the municipal bench starting here and people using it, that we have those areas that aren't
Mhm.
being used.
Okay. Some of those items, well, most of my items are maintenance items, and you know, Hank is in charge of maintenance of the park. Would you want to talk to Hank about that? Okay, and let him know that you talked to the board, you gave the board a rundown, and if Hank has to outsource any of those things, he would call me and let me know.
I know the sports has been an issue for a while now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else about the park or recreation?
Just the youth program
Mm-hmm.
is out. Everybody up there has a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be distributed with Homer and probably youth and students that are within our district.
How are your sign-ups going so far?
I've gotten a couple of emails, but it's still a little bit early. I usually towards the end, towards July is usually when I see most. And I'll do the email blast out from last year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Renee.
Mm-hmm.
County Legislator Don Boyd is not here.
I talked to Don earlier. He said he had a emergency meeting with one of his departments, so he wouldn't be here.
Okay. Jane?
Zoning and code, 3 building permits issued, 87 miles traveled for the town, 14 building inspections, 27 hours worked, 1 fire inspection, 4 complaint follow-ups, 31 telephone inquiries. The planning board meeting is June 22nd at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday. ZBA meeting is July 7th at 7:30. That's a Thursday.
Okay. Historian Ann Henderson is not here tonight. Jane?
Town clerk, we've collected $478, dispersed $458 to the town of Preble and $20 to New York State Egg and Market. And tax collector, we collected $185,921.05 in May.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, we're going to start with unfinished business. First item on the agenda is Homer baseball. Everybody got, well, Homer High School has completed their baseball, and now the high school students, some of the baseball players are going to be playing in Babe Ruth League, and Genevieve Suits sent me the schedule of ball games that are going to be taking place at the Preble Park for the summer, and it will go out to July 28th. Don and I talked about this morning, and our 5-year agreement was with Homer High School and their ball team. The agreement is not with the Babe Ruth League. So even though some of the players, maybe most of the players are the same, it's a different organization, and we're going to have to think about a simple agreement with this organization, similar to what we did with Cortland School. Don, can you comment on that?
Yeah, and I did talk to Fran about whether this is a Village of Homer program or not, and he was in court all day, so I didn't get a response from him. But that first is the first question maybe to be answered, if this youth baseball is actually a program of the Village of Homer or not. Maybe first, you know, I guess it give me a little bit more comfort level. I mean, we have an intermunicipal agreement right now with the Homer schools, and you know, there's that agreement has basic provisions in it that, you know, they're responsible for the condition of the field while they're using it. There's a hold harmless in there, and that's meaningful for us. So I would certainly be looking on behalf of the town for something pretty similar to that. The question would be, is it, if it's a Village of Homer program, then we would have presumably another similar agreement, an intermunicipal agreement with that municipality, and you know, it would be the full faith and credit, if you will, or resources of that entity behind the hold harmless. So that's significant. Just like if we give a hold harmless, and we have some of those out there, like with the state, we have an agreement with them if we're going to do work in the state right away, that sort of thing. If it's the other piece to that, I guess, Jim, is if it's truly not a village program, then it's a youth organization program. Then we still should have a similar type agreement with them. Obviously, their level of insurance coverage would be important. That stands behind that indemnification agreement. So I would certainly recommend to the town that we pursue that before we get too deeply into use of the field for that purpose.
Because I would assume they would want to play here for the next 5 years also, just like school would. This is just the first season of many seasons to come. Don, could you call Genevieve Suits and ask her and see if there's an agreement with her? Okay. Sure. She's my contact with this.
Okay.
So, okay. Thanks. Okay. Anybody else have any questions about that issue? Okay. Post office boxes. USPS has not called me, Maureen Hall, but I have talked to Mike Compton, and Mike said that he's been working with Maureen Hall about the possibility of putting the boxes at the fire station. And the fire department had a meeting Thursday night, about the possibility of doing that. So we're still open to all of this as a board, as far as I know here. We haven't closed off any solution to this. We're open to all possible solutions, and we're just kind of waiting to see what the best possibility is, what the best solution might be. Any board members have any comments or questions about this as we know it right now? Because Maureen hasn't called me in quite a while.
I was going to say, we put it out to her for her ballpark.
Yeah, it's her mail, it's her ballpark. I mean, they're using Little York Post Office right now. I know it's an inconvenience for the people of Preble to go to Little York to pick up their mail.
Is she content with that, though? I mean, is she just willing to let it stay down there and just,
No, she told me that would be a temporary basis. She is very eager to get those boxes back in Preble somewhere. As a town, we just have to figure out where's the best place for those boxes.
Right here. Right here. Right here. Wrong.
So that's what we're looking at. Mike Compton here? Mike, do you have any comment on what you talked about at the fire department on Thursday night?
Well, actually, probably a commissioner could talk about that more of their feelings. So.
Okay.
Probably talk to Jeff or Betty Ann.
I talked to them, and it's temporary down to Little York Post Office. It's tight. Everyone on the town board gets their mail delivered. The rest of these have to go to Little York to pick their stuff. And they'd like to put them out back here, possibly, and be no problem. It's an outside affair. You go up, put your key in, and get your mail, just like you do with your own. But it'd be a big one.
Why can't you bring the whole post office back so we do all our business
It's
here?
up to them, not me.
It's
up to the post
It's up to the post office. We didn't ask them to leave.
Pardon?
We did not ask the post office to leave. That was their choice.
Because the door, over the door out here, the whole problem is, they want it locked. They leave it open during the day and lock it at 5 o'clock,
Right.
automatic.
Right.
Okay, how would we be
But
meeting
how do
here
we have a
tonight?
meeting
if that
tonight?
was the case?
Yes,
the problem.
There's a way you can override those keys. Don't tell me there's not. There is. Because I worked in the bank and we overrode them too. Do you know what what it looks like? You know what the whole thing looks like? Right there's a picture of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's out there. And what it is, they put 8 by 6 with a 3-foot hangover, and you could plow right in front of it. There'd be no maintenance whatsoever. It's a benefit for these people on the roads that do not get delivery. All you get delivery. Some of these can't. And these people,
I live
They have
five
to
doors
go.
down, and I have to go to New York to get my mail.
yeah, what I'm getting at is, because if they don't do it, it's gonna go to Homer or Tully. One of these, they're gonna have to go that way.
Why, if half the people can get their mail delivered, why can't the rest of us? It's
That's not me, that's your US Postal Service. I'm just saying what they've said. So they would like to, they've got another possibility, big possibility someplace else in this town. So if that falls through, they'd like to put it out back here. And at the commissioners meeting, they said up there, if you didn't put it down here. So they'd like to see it down here, the majority of people in town.
We pay the taxes, why can't we get something to move on?
I asked Maureen Hall about, I think the best place for the boxes is right back where they came from. But she didn't want to hear that. She said politically that's unfeasible to do. You can't do that, so it has to go somewhere else. And,
Why can't they? Why can't they stay where they've been? They've been there 30 years.
yeah, I know, and that would be the best place, but they say they can't, it's impossible to do that.
Gonna be open 4 hours.
Because they cut the hours back. Okay, I don't want to turn this into a questions and comment session right now. We can save that for later. We need to move along, but anybody on the board, any ideas about this?
Well, I would suggest that we write her a letter, a formal letter, with some sort of an offer. It just says, you know, we're willing to have it back here. Jeff, I mean, you had some concerns about the siding and well, no, I'm just saying, you had some concerns about the siding for the plowing and so forth, and we just document those and send it to them, and they, you know, they need to mitigate these concerns, and off we go. As opposed, you know, I mean, it seems like we have been waiting for 2 months or 3 months for them to contact us, and they haven't.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sense for a waiver, they're not gonna hold us liable for something that happens in the back parking lot. But maybe they already have that with the part over here.
Jeff, anything you want to say?
No, I honestly thought after the last meeting that it was gonna be a hammer out agreement with Don and Maureen, and they were gonna put it out back.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how things get all twisted up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the flavor I got was, of course, once the agreement's hammered out,
Exactly.
put it out back there.
Right.
Exactly.
So I don't know where everything got all twisted, but I don't have a problem whatsoever with it there. My only concerns were, you know, everybody says, well, you know, we can get it these hours or whatever else. Okay, then you put it in writing, you put a sign up, and everybody's happy. I'm all for it.
Okay.
Right. No, I just said, I mean, you had some specific
Oh, yeah.
concerns about the siding, just to make sure that
Well, where they originally wanted to put it was
Yeah,
in
that's all I meant.
the walk zone from this emergency door.
Right.
And about 8 years ago, Pesh cited for not keeping that open. I'm just
Right.
don't want to have to move it after you put it someplace.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
All
Yeah,
that
that's
was.
what I meant. Yeah.
So you'd be okay with us?
Absolutely.
Citing
It's never
it for
been
that.
that. It's just a matter of where they originally cited it. Didn't make any sense. The
Mhm.
plow, they put it in a corner. Now everybody runs a plow on a pickup, knows it's hard to plow a corner. I just want to be able to plow past it and then swing
Right.
to get past it. That's no big deal.
Right. Okay.
And I think it's a piece of cake, but.
All right.
So where exactly are we talking about? Because obviously, if we're going to put some pen to paper, we need to define what the terms are. But where is this location that works? Do we have a map or something we can
Do it
depict
again.
it?
The marks that the Postal Service put out there, obviously, the grass is grown and that's been mowed away, but.
But that's not acceptable. That's not what we're looking for, is it, or is it?
Yes, there's second choice.
It's the
Oh, there's
second
a
choice.
second choice. Okay.
Yeah, we had 2 choices.
All right. Now, what site improvements does the Postal Service need to make? Well, they're just going to put a structure there, or is there going to be work to the parking lot? Is there lighting, or just none of that? What are we looking for?
I think a lot of that has to do with what hours you intend for it to be available. You know,
You know, a couple months ago, Dick Kennedy said he got a thing for one of their buildings.
Structure and they get the mail.
Okay, so who's putting the pad in?
They are.
Well, they're going to put the pad in.
and they're purchasing the building from Kennedy's or whoever.
Well, can we stipulate that all site improvements are at their expense?
Okay, but what are those improvements, right?
Well, we don't know exactly what they would have as their standard, right? So I got to believe that in order to, I mean, one of their issues, I thought, with the building was making it ADA compliant, right?
I don't, as far as pulling their boxes out of here.
Well, I'm saying that was one of the issues that was discussed around upgrading the building in addition to the tour, was making it ADA compliant. So I'm assuming that the boxes have to be ADA compliant, right? So they have to have a specification as to what the site improvements are. That's all I'm suggesting.
Okay.
I mean, Big Kennedy's got built several of these, as they mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we could ask them what the typical site improvements are, but I would just reference their standard.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, would we create an addendum to the lease that we already have done? I mean, here we are renting a piece of property to them outside because they don't like the rented space that we gave them in there, so they want to rent an additional space. Do we charge them rent for that little square of land there?
I think that's a very good question. I assume that the move of removing, I don't know this, but the move to remove the P.O. box is, it's a financial move on the part of the Postal Service, right? Mm-hmm. They were able to save numbers of employment hours, right?
Right.
Reduce their payroll expense. You know, I'm sure they're going to be sensitive to an increase in expense, but they are occupying. I mean, if you want that question asked, we'll ask that question. Mm-hmm. And see what the response is.
Yeah, I think it's a valid question.
They want extensions out there 5 years to go with this here, is what they're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we just
from that time on.
Yeah, I think I lose track, Betty Ann, but I think we did an extension, the last 6 months or so, and I think it actually, I don't know if it starts in yet, but we're just starting another 5 year. We're just starting, right? So the lease addendum would go right along with that new lease kicking in. Yeah,
with the new lease. Yeah.
So you've got about 5 years on that. I'm not sure we've actually started a new 5 year.
I think in November.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Then too, you're asking about charging additional fee. I don't think you should. These people have to pay extra to go to New York and back. They pay taxes. Why do we have to have them? If they don't pay it, these guys are have to pay it out of their pocket. You turn around and it's a convenience for the people that have boxes here. Put it out back here.
Well, if they pay rent now, they pay rent for this post office. That, I guess, is a charge on all of us as taxpayers of the United States or being patrons of the Postal Service, I guess. I think the thinking is this would occupy some additional area. Would they be willing to pay some additional rent for that additional area being occupied, which would just be an additional revenue for the town? I don't know that it would be a cost to a Postal Service patron.
Well, if they don't, what I'm getting at, I'm willing to pay the extra. These people don't have to pay it out of their pocket. They go in the other places. So I think that would be a benefit to the 88 box holders that's over here. 88 times 2 is 176. You're helping those people out.
No, but
if you can do it for the recreation, several $1,000s, why can't you? Let's put out there for nothing.
Betty Ann, I think the point is this. I think what the board is making reference to is let's not leave any money on the table. As we sit here, we don't know if the Postal Service would be willing to pay anything extra or not. They may not. But you don't know till you ask. They might reject it out of hand. If they do say no way, no how, well, we've asked the question.
Yeah.
And you may still choose to move ahead. That's all. I think that's all that's being questioned.
That's all we're at. So if we could ask that question about
we'll do.
additional rent.
So I think I've got Maureen's contact information, but if I don't have it, you,
Maureen Hall, I have her phone number, not with me right now.
right,
but
so if I don't,
yeah,
if
right.
I can't locate it,
Right.
I think I've got it.
Now, what about your contact in North Carolina that you negotiated the lease with?
Yep.
Because I think he should be apprised of this too, just to let him know that there's an addendum to the original lease agreement.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know when it comes to that, whether I deal with that office, because that's who we, well,
Right.
it would seem to make sense,
Right.
so we'll
Right.
find out.
And then as far as maintenance, you know,
Right.
snow plowing, and if we have to pour any pavement or something around it, you know, where does that come in?
Right.
Who pays for that?
And I think one of the concerns I heard last month was what should be like the schedule on the weekend. You know, clearly if you have the boxes inside the building, everyone knows you can only get to them when the building is open and those hours are established and published. I think one of the concerns I heard from at the last board meeting was if it's outside and, you know, Jeff's crew is out doing roads and hasn't done here yet, and someone gets stuck, you know, trying to get to their box, that's one of the concerns I heard for use of a location in the back. Well, we all make mistakes and judgments at time, and, you know, Jeff's probably going to get the call or whatever, so I know that was a little bit of a concern. So I think posting times when it's available, I guess that would have to be dovetailed with the highway department that, okay, clearly it's their obligation to keep that area cleaned up. Whether that's added expense to the town or not, I don't know, but sounds like it would be a little bit more of an obligation.
So why would you limit the hours they can get to the boxes?
Well, you know, again, it's 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. If we've got 2 foot of snow, and, you know, should it clear it at that point? I'm talking to Ed, Betty Ann, please. Okay? So I'm trying to answer that question. I mean, I think that's the question. Is it going to be 24/7?
No.
Okay, so then I think reasonable times have to be set, it seems.
Yeah.
So whatever they are, I mean,
They're
it's not up
willing
to
to
me.
put a sign up out here stating, so if they go out there on a Sunday and they get stuck, they better call AAA.
Can you guarantee that to Jeff?
And the other thing, Don, we may want to ask about is lighting. Is, you know, security and lighting and that kind of a thing. So now, you know, we're running electricity out there, we're running a light out there.
Well, there is a light out there, isn't there?
Well, I'm thinking of a light right at that structure.
Oh.
You know.
You've been here, you've got a light.
So,
What hours are they gonna be open?
I don't know. I have no idea.
If it's daytime hours, you don't need a light.
Oh.
Okay.
In the summertime, we're not worried about 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. But in January, it's a little different.
All right. So, Don, you're going to follow up by making a call to the contacts that we have.
Yep.
Ask these questions and see where we stand.
So I'm going to contact them and indicate that the board is inclined to enter into a formal agreement for out back. Details to be determined.
Right.
And we'd like to move ahead with it.
And here are some of our
Yeah.
concerns.
Right.
Right.
So we're interested in moving ahead with it.
Okay, very good.
Okay. And Don, if you can get back to me when you hear something during the month sometime.
I'll get back to you this week. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm going to, no matter what I hear or don't hear, because
Good.
I'm going to reach out in the next day or two.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next item is highway garage. Jeff, can you give us an update on what's going on with that?
Paul and I have been in contact. He wouldn't be able to do anything until October
Okay.
for spring build.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your key person of the whole thing. To, you know, get him on and help with Don's concerns about using vendor written. Take that out of the pictures.
You're okay with that?
It is what
We're
it
not
is.
gonna do anything until October anyways, if
Right.
everything went full steam ahead. We're
Okay.
not really losing anything right
All right. So that's our time frame right now. What are we going? Okay. Next item, Tompkins County Consortium. We heard a presentation last month about changing our health insurance from Blue Cross Blue Shield to the Tompkins County Consortium. We should be saving quite a bit of money with it and getting the same kind of benefits. Jeff, since it's you and your guys that are going to be participating in this, do you have any comment or question for us?
Actually, I got contacted by a bunch of other highway superintendents at highway school this last week because they heard about this meeting being here last month. And I had Dale and Kevin here, of course, and I don't see what is taking that broker out of it. Basically, taking that 6 or 8% right off the gate. Same coverage, so why shouldn't we?
The same coverage. And just like
you're good with that.
Just like anything new, when we make a change, we can try it and see how it goes. And you know, if after 2 years or something you guys don't like it for whatever reason,
well, I think you got to look at the dollars. And I talked to a few of the guys over there. Of course, that was in Ithaca, so you had. And I talked to some that had it. They said it's very seamless.
Okay.
I think something I've got to really look at.
All right. So I'll call them. I'll tell them we want to go forward with it for next year. And, you know, I'll do whatever paperwork I have to do to start up with that. Okay? Okay, good. Steve Morgan and some of the other people that have been talking with Rick. Don, can you comment on what's going on with some of these issues?
I traded phone calls with Rick today. I finally got a message from him. You know, he called me, I called him, you know, typical. And I know that Ed is here. He did have a comment about that situation, and I did drive by there on the way up tonight. I have not gone by the Morgan residence since I went by it last month.
What do you think of that out?
It's improved. It's improved. And Rick indicated that, but the input I get from our code enforcement officer is that it doesn't comply with you know, the laws that apply. So I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
it's okay.
I don't know if you want to react. You guys?
Yeah, I definitely want to react to it. When I asked to put up a fence 4.5 years ago, he just put up a fence. He approved that. 30 days down the road, I had a complaint that they didn't like the snowmobile signs, so I put black tarp over it. And to me, that's a fence. I mean, they take it in, but at least my place has got a fence around it. There's other places in town that doesn't even have a fence. That's at high traffic areas.
So what I'm willing, I've got a couple meetings up here coming up this month. Maybe Rick and you and I meet there and we determine what is or what isn't, I'm okay with that, because otherwise I think the code enforcement officer will be asking the board for authority to take some formal steps. And, you know, I think both the code enforcement officer and the board is inclined to try and resolve it without that, and that's one of the reasons why, perhaps. But I think my brief observation, I tend to agree with our code enforcement officer that we're not in compliance at this point. He has not indicated he would not continue to work with you. So why don't we take that approach?
Wait for another dumpster.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, there was at least 3. Okay, when I talked with, Ken was on the phone the other day, it's at least 3 to 4 weeks before I can even get a dumpster because we're so far backlogged because of construction going on.
Okay. All right. Well, my plan would be obviously to meet before the next board meeting. Okay. And I have a meeting coming up.
I'm still cleaning up the place too, so.
On these 2 days. So maybe on the 7th or something, July 7th, we can meet there in the evening or something like that if I can get Rick to come over. Okay?
We'd like to walk through with the code officer and let him point out exactly
what
he wants to clean up. And then we're willing to do it.
Actually, we don't know what the hell he's doing.
Okay. Good, so you're on track for doing what you need to do?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I didn't realize Steve was here, but my understanding is that Rick has not received any response from Steve. In fact, he seemed to indicate that there's more items there now than there were a month ago. So, I don't know if you heard me on that, Steve. But,
I hear you.
okay.
You've got your money monkey with me.
Okay, so Rick is working with you guys.
All right, I'll contact Rick, set up an appointment.
Okay.
And I was in here with talking to Rick the other day, so he didn't tell you, that's not my fault. No, Don? Thank you.
Okay, let's move along here. New business, we received $538.17 from USPS. And now we'd like to open up the meeting to public comments, questions, anything we have that you want to address to the board. Dave?
Well, I don't know if it's actual, but our neighbors, my neighbor, their parents have, the post office has some way worked out so that besides their post office box, the key, that key or another key that each post office box person has unlocks the door so they can get in and get their mail. Now that might be a solution too. But each person that has a box can open a door, go in, get their mail, and the door locks behind them.
And where are the boxes big?
They're in a building. I'm not quite sure. I never really got down to finance details.
Secure.
But the other thing is, for working people, I'm not one of them, but my son is, he can't get it delivered to his house. He has to have a post office box, but the only problem is getting down to the little yard to get his mail is kind of a problem doing it, to get down there when the mail's open. I mean, I know the elderly people, I'm not slighting them or anything else, but I'm saying besides the elderly people, it's an awful inconvenience for a lot of your working people to even get their mail.
We certainly understand the hardship of people going to Little York for their mail. And we're trying to resolve this issue.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, our attorney, Don Armstrong, is going to be negotiating with Postal Service to do something to the back of the building there. So that's the direction we're going in right now. So the whole thing was because Tom's store closed down and Tom demanded that they leave at a certain date, the Postal Service had to move those boxes out of Tom's store. And up to that point, we did not get any kind of agreement on where those boxes should go. So they had to do something with them. So they pulled them out of Tom's store and they put them down at Little York, which is their only option at the time. And they said to me that it was temporary, that it would only be there until they found a spot back here in Preble. So now we're continuing to work on a solution to put it in the back of the building. There were questions that came up. There were issues we had to address. I'm sorry that this couldn't happen faster, but it's not one neighbor to another with a handshake across the property line saying, let's do this. It's one government entity working with another government entity. We have to have things in writing. We have to have contracts. We can't just say, yeah, throw it in the back, and we'll work something out later. So that's where we're at. We're trying to get an addendum to a contract that we have with USPS to do that. So we're moving forward with it. Hopefully it won't be too much longer that people have to go to Little York. That's all I can say. I mean, anybody else? Ken?
Do they use the old fire station for anything? Next to you know where the old fire station is?
Probably sold it. Probably sold it when we built it.
That one was a church.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
They can rent it off rent.
Yeah.
How about Woody's garage over here?
Somebody give me a good reason why I can't stay where it's at. You got the boxes already in there?
I asked that question.
Nobody's moved anything.
I asked the
All
question.
they did was move us out.
They said under no
Everything else is in there.
under no circumstances can they move the boxes back into that building there.
I don't know why.
That's their words to me.
Yep.
So,
I just
They
don't
do the same thing
understand
they done
their
down New York.
logic on
Put a
that. They're
door
still
in and a
paying
window
somebody
and
to fill those
there's
boxes
a
whether
partition,
it's
and
here
they don't
or
have
there.
it.
right.
It's
Right.
You got locked.
logic in the post office, don't put them in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anybody else?
You just don't wanna make it
Question
easy
or
for us.
comment?
I don't know, I think for that tax money.
Okay, let's go one at a time. Betty Ann?
The zoning officer go out and look at the road, properties around. Preble Road, there's East Homer Baltimore Road, there's Route 11, there's Staker Road, there's violations on them. The building's falling down, there's junk cars on them. And it's not just started, this has been there for a number of years.
You want to give him a call? Make a complaint?
Can you go out and look?
I did, he says it don't work. He says he can't find it in the book, and I know it's there. So he's got a lot of bullshit.
If anybody has a complaint against Rick Fritz, they can call them. Call Rick Fritz and
I'll call him, I got his number.
let him know what your concern is. Rick Fritz is part-time. He works, what, 1 day a week he gets paid for?
Yeah.
Yeah, gets paid for 1 day a week. So we do the best that we can. We're a small town. Anybody else? Oh, yes?
Who do we get a hold of to have a mailbox at the end of our driveway? How can we change that?
You know, I've always thought about that. Is that why do you people have to have a P.O. box? Why can't they deliver the mail? Why can't they?
Makes sense to me.
Why can't they deliver mail to everybody in this town? I don't know why.
I don't want my mail in the post office. And I'm in front of my house. I want a post office.
Yeah.
When we're away, that's our security.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just put a mailbox in front of ours and they started delivering them out.
Yeah,
Yeah, we didn't have to tell them nothing or nothing, put a mailbox out there.
Maybe everybody should do that. All right. Any other questions, Mike?
Yes, myself and Charlie are on the assessment review board,
Mm-hmm.
and we've both been approached by people in the town about the property across the road down Riceville Place.
Mm-hmm.
What happened a couple years ago is the church come in and got an exemption on the property. And then like 2 months later, right after they got the exemption, they started renting the place out for profit.
Mm-hmm.
And we have spoken to the assessor a couple times about it. He says we'll look into it. And it's still listed as exempt property.
Mm-hmm.
When, as far as we can tell, they're making a profit off the property itself. And I don't know if that's something that the board should look into, because I think the town is losing tax money from a property that should be taxed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like
At the board of review meeting, he said that he did not want to mess with the church.
Bill Barrett said that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not like they're using it for worship or anything. It's not like they're even housing the pastor there.
Using it for income.
They're using it for income. So,
So I guess I'm here. I knew it was brought up a couple months ago, and
Mhm.
Charlie and I decided to come in again tonight and
mm-hmm.
to bring it back to your attention again. I don't know if it's something that could be looked into or not.
I think
I mean, the situation's there.
the board has a responsibility to look into it.
Yeah, because when they come in and asked for the exemption, they said they were not going to rent the house out.
You know, they're gonna use
It was
it
gonna
for
be for
storage
storage
and,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday school class.
Yeah.
That was what they were gonna do,
And 2 months later, it's rented out.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Don, in your experience, do you have any, can you say anything about this? You have a comment on it?
Right. It comes up, and it's not necessarily a function of the nature of the organization that owns it that determines whether it's tax exempt or not. It's a question of what use the property is put to. So I think you raise a legitimate issue, and certainly at first blush, our town assessor ought to take a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And, probably provide an answer to the board. And certainly the Real Property Tax Services Office, they could be helpful in something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And and then ORPS, which is New York State, Real Property Services, what's the acronym stand for, but Office of Real Property Tax Services, they're also a resource for folks. So, no, I think that's a legitimate question and should be looked into. The taxable status date, you guys know this, but it's an annual thing. So the taxable status as of March 1 is going to drive the bills for the next year, right? So we're beyond March 1, so it would be what you're raising the question on. If it were resolved differently and it was determined it was taxable, it wouldn't affect the tax status until March 1 of 2017, and the first tax bill that you would see as a result would be next year from now, school tax bill. So you wouldn't see, my point is you wouldn't see an immediate change. It's tax exempt, so there's no school tax bill forthcoming this fall, no town and county bill probably forthcoming 1/1/17, and there's nothing you can do now to go back in time with respect to those bills, but moving forward, yes.
Okay.
And actually, Jim, there's another property that I've been pointing out to him for 3 years now, and that hasn't changed yet either.
Which property is that, Charlie?
There's a lot of discrepancies in this one, actually. On the 281, and the lot measurement does not match the lot measurement. They have an addition on the end of the house that never got put on here. I don't know who the assessor was back in 2010. It was before Nedra, I believe. And I talked to her about it, and Nedra was Nedra, and she didn't change nothing. And I've been talking to Bill about it for a couple of years, and that hasn't changed either. And I know that addition's probably $60,000-$70,000 worth of taxable income to the town too.
I'll call Bill on both properties.
Okay.
Where is that, Jim?
The address just is 281. Again, I'm going to give this to you.
Okay.
Look at it.
And the other thing, I know Bill put a note in somebody's mailbox here when we had our board meeting, VIR meeting, about possibly paying the people on the Board of Review, because I guess we're the only town that doesn't have a paid Board of Review staff.
Right.
So that's something, I don't know if whoever got the note, but he did write a note that night and threw it in somebody's mailbox.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could get paid.
You guys provide a valuable service. You should get paid something for that service. So
Budget item.
we would have to do it in the budget this fall, which is not a problem, for next year.
I asked him for a ton, maybe $20 for the night. Whatever, make it worth our while to sit down here for 4 hours and talk to 5 or 6 people that come in. Like that.
Well, there is money in the budget. There's $240 in there right now, and it's been there every year. No one ever gave me a voucher, so
Is there anything in the town records, Shane, that would reflect a payment rate of some kind for those positions?
Well, I don't know. But I say that all the time I've been here, I've only had one person, and that was probably 10 years ago that gave me a voucher.
And got paid.
So how many people on the Board of Assessment Review?
There's 5.
There's 5. So we would split $240 among 5 people.
Yeah.
For this year anyway. We could change it for next year. Okay.
In one of the other towns I heard,
Divided by 5.
5 people showed up, they split between the 5, the 3 showed up,
63 cents.
they split between the 3.
Did all of your people
Encourages
show up?
everybody to show up.
How many people showed up this year?
All 5.
All 5 did.
All 5
Okay.
of us were here.
They heard about that money.
Well, I think there was 3 of us last year, wasn't there? 3, maybe 4 of us. One guy didn't come in.
Okay, let's make a resolution to pay out the $240 to the 5 members.
Budget. In the budget.
It's in the budget.
In the budget.
And we can change it for next year. You know, we can
Make it.
We can,
easier.
$10. We can-
Make it maybe more round numbers or something than what it is. But I need a resolution to pay this money out.
I make a resolution that we use the budgeted money to pay the board of review.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll talk to Gina about that.
What does the board review?
Tax grievances.
Grievances for town,
Right.
but that's what-
Okay, so this is how things work. You know, you guys bring things to us that we don't know about, and you know, we get it done. So I'll talk to Gina about this, and I'll work with Jane also, and we'll split that money among the 5 of you guys. Any other? And like I said, I will also talk to Bill Barrett and Cortland County Real Property about the 2 properties we discussed. So thanks, Mike, for bringing that up. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Dave?
On that church business, maybe the law has been changed, but used to be one time, I know some of your cities and stuff like that, well, businesses in the business had a complaint because a religious organization could start up a business, we call it a church property, and not pay any taxes on it. So they was at an unfair advantage of a person that had to pay the taxes. Excuse me, I don't know if that still exists or what. If it does, it might partly pertain to the house over here. I don't know, maybe that law's been changed.
I'll have to do some research on it and find out.
I'm not sure, you know, it could have been changed by this.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Anybody else?
Since we're talking about money and funds, my question is, does the board members, receive either stipend or pay to be on the board? Like
What?
Linda and Don, Al Sosha, do you guys get paid to be on the board?
Yes,
we do.
Yes, we do.
Back in the April board meeting,
Mhm.
when, Dick Kennedy was talking to Al Sosha about his absenteeism,
Mhm.
Al made the comment at minute 34:18 that he volunteers for this board and volunteers to serve the community.
That was a poor choice of words, in my opinion, using the word volunteer, because he is being paid business.
But if you volunteer, you don't get paid.
Exactly.
Right.
And the fact that, you know, the issue is his absenteeism and representing the town,
Mhm.
and I can't even speak to him about it tonight.
Right.
Again, not here.
Right. Well, remember these things at election day. That's all I can say. Anybody else? Okay. We need to make a motion to pay the general fund vouchers.
I'll make a motion that we pay the general fund vouchers, abstract number 6, numbers 133 to 166, totaling $17,492.17.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Need a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers.
I'll make a motion to pay highway fund vouchers, abstract number 6, numbers 46 to 60, totaling $25,238.44.
Second that also.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Need a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.